I wanted to provide just a little mini training on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, accountability. And I just think that it is so important to workplace culture and to the overall employee experience. So, we're going to talk about 5 C's of accountability and why they matter. I'm going to start out just sharing a quote that I really like, and it is accountability breeds responsibility, and that's from Stephen Covey. If you don't have accountability, you're not likely to get a response, or at least the response that you want. So I'm going to go through a scenario and see if you think it's familiar. We have Mary Manager and HR Hank who were discussing a situation with Debbie Deadline Misser. Mary Manager says, every time a project is due, Debbie ends up showing up in my office a day or two before the deadline asking for more time. HR Hank says, how do you respond when she asks for more time? Mary Manager, I give it to her, of course. She doesn't leave me much choice. HR Hank, have you discussed this with her? How long has it been going on? Mary Manager says, I haven't talked with her, but she obviously knows she isn't hitting deadlines. It's been going on for a year or so, I guess. I'm tired of this behavior and I think I'm going to need to let her go. I can't tell you how many times in my long career in HR I have had this conversation. And that shows a lack of accountability. And the manager really has not done their part to communicate to Debbie Deadline Misser and let her know that it's an issue. And they have essentially promoted that behavior because they've permitted it. So we'll start out with a definition of accountability. It often gets a bad rap, and people think of accountability as blame. You think about that manager that says, who can I hold accountable for this? Really, accountability is not a bad thing. It's taking personal responsibility for results, and that's good and bad results. What happens without accountability? You can see some things in this picture that might inform that, but missed deadlines, poor business results, turnover, drama, and disengagement. And as I said, what you permit, you promote. So if you let Susie Q come in with her pajama pants and you don't say anything about it, and then Joe and Carl start coming in their pajama pants, you can't really say anything because you have essentially promoted that behavior. Most organizations don't do accountability well. A Harvard Business Review study found that 46% of managers were rated poorly on holds people accountable when they don't deliver. Oh, not good. That's poorly, not just mediocre. So I teach 5 C's of accountability, and we'll go through each of these. So the first is clarity. You must provide clear expectations, and that's on what you expect, the outcome you're looking for, and how you'll measure success. If you don't have clarity around expectations, people don't know what they need to be accountable for. So it's very important. You'll want to document in writing and reinforce those expectations on a regular basis. Second is courage. And I think this is where we often fall short with accountability because people do not like to have those difficult conversations, but you have to have the courage to have them. Problems are not going to go away if you ignore them. So just go ahead, educate yourself on how to best have difficult conversations and do it. If you're in a leadership position, it is a part of being a leader, and it's really important. Number 3 is collaboration. So you want to work with the employee and or the team to develop goals. Whenever you can collaborate with folks, you're going to get more ownership and motivation. So do it if you can. Ask for their feedback and commitment. Number 4 is consistency. And I mean this in a couple different ways. First, you want to give them regular feedback on how things are going and have discussions about that in one-on-one meetings and other interactions. And the second way is to be fair and consistent with your team. So if you're holding one employee accountable and having conversations about their attendance, and you have another employee over here who's as bad or worse that you haven't addressed, that is not being fair and consistent. So you occasionally have to do a self check on those things. Number five is correction. You don't always have to go here, but when you've tried the other four C's, you may need to move to correction. And that usually looks something like this: doing a counseling that you document, and then moving to disciplinary action, whatever your process is. It may be a documented, verbal, written, and then termination. So familiarize yourself with your company's policy so that you will be prepared to go there when you need to. So, just a little bit more on accountability. I think one of the reasons that we really don't do so great in this area is that a lot of times managers are promoted and they aren't given education and having accountability and all the things around it, having feedback conversations, positive and developmental, listening well, coaching, having difficult conversations, managing conflict. None of those things necessarily come naturally. So it is information that they need to be trained and coached on, and have some opportunities to practice and put it into place. So keep that in mind. If you haven't done that, that's something that you definitely want to consider. I, of course, have a solution that can help you with that. It's called Habits, the High Retention Manager, and it is a leadership development series. And there also is a community that pairs along with that that has resources and opportunities for dialogue and things like that. And I also have a performance management redesign solution, and it looks at the whole performance management process, which includes accountability, and helps you design a process that is going to be most effective for your organization. Because, quite frankly, in addition to accountability, the whole performance management process is not done well in a lot of organizations, and in particular, the performance review. So if I can help you, let me know. I'm Leslie Spees with Influence HR Consulting. I hope that this training has been useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Here is my contact information. Thank you.